everyone, welcome back to the Gentle Dog Trainers channel. I'm your host Olivia DeSantos, and today we're going to be talking about how to go hiking with your dog in Australia. Now, a lot of these tips will apply wherever you are, so please don't click off if you're not in Australia specifically, but at the end of the video we'll talk about some places where it'll be particularly pleasant to go hiking with your dog. But before we dive into the content, I want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel. If you want to raise happy, healthy and well-behaved dogs, we talk about all things dogs every single week. So click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you never miss an upload, and let's dive in. So hiking with your dog carries over a lot of the similar principles of going on a good walk with your dog, but the thing is about hiking is that there are more hazards, there are more unpredictabilities, so you need to be even more prepared and have even stronger training bond with your dog. So when we're thinking about whether it's even a good idea to go hiking with your dog, think about whether your dog has really good recall skills. This is one of the most vital skills that any dog needs to learn, but particularly when you go hiking, because I'm going to tell you a little story time from earlier on this year. So I went hiking with a group of women earlier on this year, and we were in the middle of a forest to find this secret lake, which was really, really beautiful. But there was a dog that had a harness and a collar, so it was definitely owned by someone, but was just roaming around on their own. They were quite a large dog, and this was quite a treacherous forest. It could have been quite dangerous for this dog to be on their own. And this dog was obsessed with me. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm very, very good with dogs. Obviously, I run a dog care channel and I'm one of the writers for the Gentle Dog Trainers website. So I love dogs, and it makes sense that dogs will love me back to a degree, but this dog was obsessed with me. He would not stop jumping on me, and he was a very large and heavy dog, so kind of the weight and size of a German Shepherd, very, very heavy, very, very large, and just would not leave me alone. Just wouldn't. I would be trying to go over a bridge or past a tree or something like that, and he would be jumping on me, and just me, very specifically just me, straight for me. And it got to a point where it wasn't just annoying, it was actually very dangerous. And I'm already someone who is quite afraid of heights and things like that, so it was very unnerving to have a seemingly stray dog just bombard me all of the time, just at me. Eventually, some of the girls in my group kind of held him back so that I could get to the rest of the group, because this dog would just not let me be. And some minutes later, maybe about half an hour later, a woman came with her lead and said, "Oh, have you seen a dog? I'm missing my dog." It's yeah, we've seen your dog. He's been, attacking me for most of the day. You shouldn't have let him off your lead if you don't feel like your recall skills are strong enough, because that dog is just off doing its own thing, and it's really dangerous for that dog in particular to be on their own. It's not because I was thinking about my safety, I'd be fine, but what if that dog has an accidental fall and he has been away from his owner for over an hour, And it's understandable that some dogs go missing and things like that, and that can be out of your control, but the best thing you can do is make sure that those recall skills are top notch. Make sure that your dog comes back to you when you call their name. That is the most important thing. If you don't have good recall skills, or if you're not feeling that confident that the recall skills are strong enough, then spend some more time training your dog before you do any sort of hikes, and we can avoid a story like mine. The next thing to consider about whether your dog is ready to hike is if they're physically able to do it. Some dogs have some mobility issues. If they're a little bit older, then they might not be able to do super long hikes anymore just because they might get tired a bit sooner. Even puppies will wear out a lot sooner as well. And, unless you want to carry them the rest of the way, then it's worth thinking about, what the physical capacity of your dog really is. Number 3, does your dog have a morbid curiosity? And by that, I mean, are they likely to try and eat and approach everything, essentially? So this is something particularly to think about if you're taking your puppy on a hike. Unless you are able to kind of like run after them and make sure that you're really on top of them and make sure they don't eat any stray mushrooms or berries or, encounter a snake and sniff it and things like that. To a degree, those sorts of hazards will happen anyway. To a degree, those sorts of hazards are uncontrollable, but if your dog is particularly obsessed with just not listening to you and those recall skills are not on point, then you need a bit more time training your dog and sharpening those recall skills before you go on a hike. Number 4, is your relationship strong enough to allow your dog some independence? Now, with this point, it completely depends on the hiking trail. So there are some hiking trails where you can have your dog off lead sometimes, and that is completely up to you. It's a personal choice. If this is your very first hike, then I'd say don't do that because it can be a bit nerve-wracking. I'd say go on your first couple of hikes with your dog on leash the entire time and then take them off leash when you feel super, super confident that relationship and those recall skills and those bonds are super strong. I keep on coming back to the recall skills because it's so important. Make sure that your dog and you are in sync, and that they are looking out for you as much as you are looking out for them. The next thing to consider is if you know any simple first aid that your dog may need. So it's good to carry a first aid kit, a dog first aid kit, and let's say that they step on something or they get a cut or a bite or something like that. Are you equipped to be able to help them in that situation? Now, it's not to say that every hike will need those sorts of skills, and hopefully you won't need those sorts of skills ever, but if you're going on any sort of if you're going on any hikes that could be a danger. So for example, if you're going hiking in the outback, then you need to have really strong first aid skills just in case anything happens. Are you aware of any animals or creepy crawlies that could harm your dog? So can you identify on site what poisonous snakes look like, what poisonous spiders look like? Do you know of any sort of wildlife in the area that could harm your dog, and what to do if you see one of them? Of course, you could always go on a hike that avoids these things. So you could go on a beach hike, for example, that has relatively few of those types of hazards. You can have hazards like jellyfish and things, but generally speaking, can be safer than, like I said, going to the outback. But if you are going to attempt those sorts of hikes, then it's good to know what kinds of creepy crawlies, animals, any kind of environmental hazards that you need to be aware of. The final thing to consider about whether you are ready to take your dog hiking is if your dog gets on well with other dogs and other people. If you're going on a quite popular hike, then you might pass other dogs, you might pass other people. And if your dog doesn't get on well with other dogs in particular, you want to make sure that your dog is always on a leash and that you can recall them when you need to. If the answer to any of those questions means that you can't go hiking yet, that you might need a bit more time training at home or building up resistance and building up those recall skills, then do that for a few months and see how you feel, and then maybe next season go hiking. But let's move on and say that you are ready to go hiking now. How do you prepare adequately for your hike? The first thing is to research the route. Make sure that you know exactly how long it should take you, where the stopping points could be. If there is an off-leash option, then where those off-leash options are, and try to understand the elevation and the difficulty for the route that you choose. Next, make sure that your dog is fully vaccinated and health checked before you go hiking. You're exposing your dog to the elements, you're exposing your dog to other animals, to other dogs sometimes, and so it's important that your dog is in top shape and protected against any sort of diseases that could arise. Final way to prepare is to learn some hiking etiquette. Basic hiking etiquette for dogs are as follows.
Respect the rules when it comes to leashes. Most dog-friendly trails will indicate if there are areas where you can let your dog go off leash. Pick up after yourself. This is known as the leave no trace rule that most hikers follow. Make sure you are fully equipped with poop bags just in case. Not all people will love your dog. For that reason, keep your dog under control in case someone is uncomfortable. The same goes for other dogs. If there is a camping element to your hike, follow the campsite rules for dogs. We have a whole article on camping with your dog, so check that out in the description box down below.
Okay, let's talk about gear. What do you need to take your dog hiking with you? The first thing is a first aid kit, as I mentioned. This is really important for any sort of emergencies. Make sure that you have a decent dog first aid kit. We do have some recommendations on this, and so I'll leave that in the description box down below. You'll need a strong leash and a strong harness. This is super important. Even if your dog doesn't usually use a harness, then they are really helpful on long hikes because they tend to have more points, and if you need to put your dog's leash on in a hurry, then it's better to have a point on their back as opposed to just the one on the front at their collar. The leash you choose depends on the hike to a degree, so if the hike has very narrow pathways, then you might want a shorter leash. If you have quite wide open pathways, then you might want a retractable leash. That might work better for you. We have recommendations for those as well, so click the links in the description box. You need water and a dog water bottle. Dog water bottles are the best thing ever. They can store quite a lot of water and just provide a vessel for your dog to drink water so they're not drinking from the ground. You'll also need food and a portable food bowl if applicable. If this is a really long hike and you're going to miss dinner time or your regular dinner time, then it might be worth packing a bit of food and a portable food bowl for your dog. In any case, you might want to pack some snacks, so some treats. That will just keep your dog's blood sugar, as they're expending quite a lot as they hike. The next thing is a towel. Now this will depend on the hike that you go on, but if you're going into a forest and a waterfall or the beach, then you'll need to bring a towel with you. We have recommendations for dog towels, dog booties and or socks. Now this depends again on the hike that you go on. If it is going to be extremely arid, extremely dry and very hot, then sometimes the ground can actually damage your dog's pads, the pads of their feet. So you might want to invest in some dog booties or socks that will protect your dog's paws. Finally, you will need plenty of poop bags. With the whole hiking etiquette of leave no trace, it's super important that you pick up after your dog, and the only way is for you to have plenty of reinforcements in your backpack. Make sure you have more poop bags than you think you'll need. Now, if you just wanted to know how to go hiking with your dog, then I really hope that all of that advice was really helpful to you. You can check out the link in the description for an even more in-depth view of everything that I spoke about, and I thank you so much for being here. But now we're going to talk about where to go hiking with your dog in Australia specifically. I'm going to call out one place per state, and if you want to go into more detail or have even more recommendations for each place, then click the link in the description. I have even more recommendations there.
So before I dive in, I do want to let you know of a really good resource for looking up hikes, and that is alltrails.com. This is not sponsored, but it is a really good resource if you love to hike and if you're looking for dog-friendly hikes in particular. So I'm going to slide through these quite quickly, but if you check out the link in the description box, then you'll be able to see a full breakdown of all of the places that we recommend. So for New South Wales, I'm going to call out Lake Lake Parramatta. Sorry if my pronunciation is not correct. In Queensland, we're going to call out the Ivan Evans Walk. In Victoria, the Yarra Bend Park Loop. In Western Australia, the Zamia Trail on City Beach. In South Australia, the Belair Waterfall Hike Circuit in Adelaide. In Northern Territory, the Bicentennial Park. In Tasmania, Montezuma Falls. And in Australian Capital Territory, Pond Loop. Again, apologies for my pronunciation, I am British.
I hope this video was really helpful for you in understanding how to go hiking with your dog and where to go hiking with your dog in Australia. Comment down below if you have any hiking tips for others on the channel so that we can all help each other. Please click the subscribe button so you don't miss the next video. I'm Olivia for the Gentle Dog Trainers channel, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.